Hey, everybody. It's the Therapy Tips Hour with me, Steve Garufi. I'm a therapist in Colorado, an LPC. And this is my live stream, my weekly live stream. I'm going to talk about a variety of therapy topics, including post traumatic stress, isolation, the difference between good and bad therapists. And I'll take your questions. If you have questions, just put it in the chat section, or you can ask afterwards in the reply section if you're watching this when it's not live. I'm getting things set up here. Okay, the lighting is perfect, just like that. Now, by the way, I'm not in my office. I'm not in my home. I'm in a Starbucks. Okay, this is like become my favorite little section in this Starbucks. I got a caramel macchiato decaf. All right, I know I quit caffeine. Okay, so let's do a live stream. Let's do a live stream. Hello to all two people. I got two people watching. I'm just this humble guy, semi humble, maybe not very humble at all. But really, this channel is all about just making videos, hopefully giving to people, just giving back and sharing whatever expertise or knowledge I have. I have been a therapist for 20 years. Okay. And I do know a few things. I'm not an expert on a lot of things, but anyway, let's do a live stream. Let's have some fun too. Okay. All right. I got my UTEP. I got my UTEP tank top on. And I didn't go to school there. I didn't go to UTEP, but it's the University of Texas, El Paso. Okay, I just wear this because I hung out in El Paso a few times, and I just bought this. So, all right, let's get going. Here's my hair. My hair looks terrible. Let's put the hat on. All right, let's get going. I've got my trusty notebook here, and I've got things to talk about. Now, people ask questions in the chat. We'll kind of go with the flow with where the conversation goes. But I do have some things to talk about. Number one, stay out of isolation. This is something I'm always kind of encouraging my clients. Stay out of isolation. Okay? There's sort of this issue with isolation and depression where it's almost like the chicken or the egg dilemma, where it's like, okay, if you're depressed, it will probably cause you to kind of isolate. But then it's like, if you're isolating, it will probably cause you to get depressed. All right. Now, there's many factors, of course. I'm just throwing that out there. All right. So, like, what does this mean in practical terms? Sometimes I have clients where they're struggling with their mental health, usually something related to depression or anxiety or a combination of both of them. And one factor that can really hurt them is, let's put it this way, the factor that can help them is, what's your support system like? Do you have people who care? Do you have people that you can talk to and you do actually talk to them? Do you have people that like can lift your spirits up just by calling them? Or somebody who might just visit you? You have family that actually care? You know what I mean? We're human beings and we need to connect with others. And a lot of our healing can come from healthy relationships where there's love and empathy and acceptance. So the opposite of that is when we're staying at home and we're, you know what I mean? We're really depressed and, we're not going out, whatever. We're sleeping a lot, that kind of thing. And then it's like, and then on top of that, you're not asking for help. You're not asking for help. You're not talking to anybody. You're not letting anyone know that you're having a hard time. And then even to some extent, are you isolating from your therapist? I've had some clients where they're working with me and then things go really sour and down and they stop going to therapy. They isolate from therapy. And obviously I can't help you. I don't have a chance of helping you if we're not communicating in therapy. So anyway, just the principle, okay, is know the rule, which is isolation in general, not always, and there could be exceptions, okay, but in general, It's not going to be good for your mental health. If you're keeping everything inside, you're isolated, don't do it. Okay? So go talk to your therapist. Go talk to somebody. I'm on one platform called onlinetherapy.com. I have a few clients where they just message me. It's like a messaging only plan. And we just write each other back and forth. I tell them I'll write them back within 48 hours. We just go back and forth. That's at least something. Okay? Do not isolate. Okay? Because then it goes to the whole issue of the problem you can't talk about is now two problems. So if you're just isolated, everything's inside, it's only your problem. Oh, I don't want, the excuse, oh, I don't want to burden anybody. Don't buy into all those myths. They're because that's what they are. They're myths. They're falsehoods. All right? So don't isolate. I know I'm just repeating myself over and over again. I'm telling you though, listen, I'm a laid back therapist. I got a little bit of a goofy sense of humor, right? But it just drives me nuts when sometimes I have to learn patience. I'm a pretty patient person too, especially as a therapist. But my patience is a little tested when my clients are isolating. And I'm like, what? No. Okay. So there you go. So hello to all. There's one person watching. Please comment. Please say hi. Let me take a sip of my caramel macchiato. Okay. I do have more things on this list. I want to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, and I'm going to talk present a basic plan of post-traumatic. What is it? Okay, for people who don't know, post-traumatic stress disorder. It is an anxiety disorder. It's sometimes referred to by the acronym PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's when somebody experiences a traumatic event. Okay, I'll get into a little bit about what a traumatic event is, but they experience a traumatic event. And then from that, they experience stress. I mean, it's right in the name, post-traumatic stress. They experience stress and usually anxiety symptoms. And they can have depressive symptoms too afterwards based on the traumatic event. Some common symptoms can be like having nightmares, like recurring nightmares about the traumatic event. It can be a whole bunch of things. I should actually let me just pull it all up because my mind's going to go blank because I'm doing this live stream. Yeah, okay. So recurring nightmares, avoiding anything that reminds the person of the traumatic event, negative changes in mood or cognition. A person can be almost like hyper aroused to any stimuli. The term triggered is almost used too much in our culture these days. They can be like hyper aroused to like little reminders that kind of trigger them. Okay, so here are examples of traumatic events. It's the short non-clinical description that I'm going to give is it's a horrific, horrifying event, often where like I think they say like the physical integrity of someone either dies or is gravely injured or there's blood. All right. So it can be anything where it's like a very dangerous or potentially terrifying event. So things like people going to war and seeing the horrors of war. It can be childhood abuse. It could be rape or sexual assault. It could be being in a really bad car accident or being a victim of a crime, like, being robbed at gunpoint, something like that. Enduring a tornado can be another one. A tornado. I had one client a long time ago where she survived a tornado that went through in Alabama, and she was hyper aroused when the wind. If it was a windy day, it would trigger her. It was really hard for her. So, post traumatic stress disorder. Go look it up. I mean, it's a real basic Google AI tools. You can learn a lot about it. Here's like a few things. The most common example of post traumatic stress that most people think of is when people go to war, people in the military, and they see the horrors of death and being in combat, killings, seeing people dead, okay, all that. Now that is like totally a traumatic event, okay, so people usually, if they've been in combat, they'll struggle with that post-traumatic stress. And I just want to be clear, if you struggle with PTSD, it's okay. I'm getting to this place where I have my own traumatic events and I have my own therapist. Okay, so that's the first thing. I'm learning about trauma from a personal standpoint, how it affects me and my efforts to work through it. And then I've been learning for over 20 years from a professional standpoint how trauma affects our nervous system and our brain chemistry. The Body Keeps Score is probably the best book. The Body Keeps Score. It came out, I think, roughly 25 years ago, and it's been updated, but I recommend that book. Anyway, okay, so unfortunately, people who go to war, they see the horrors of war. That's one thing. All right, so there's other ways, though. And I already mentioned them, but childhood abuse and neglect, or any form of like sexual abuse, people overlook that, but that can absolutely be traumatic as a child if there's like abuse or neglect or domestic violence or like lots of anger and arguing and fighting, that kind of thing, and a child seeing that, or if you're in whatever middle school or a teenager, all of that is traumatic. Very likely a person will have post-traumatic stress symptoms. It may have happened in their childhood, and now they're 25, and they might have symptoms related to it, and they might not even realize it. It's really common. I've got clients and they're like usually in their 20s or 30s, and they're struggling. They got all these symptoms related to PTSD, and then it's like we get into their childhood, and it's like, oh my gosh, you've been through a lot. Anyway, okay, so people usually overlook like childhood type stuff. What else do I got on my list? Oh, here's another aspect of PTSD. Everyone thinks of war. Most people don't think of childhood abuse. I mean, I say this tongue in cheek, but I also want to say it compassionately. If you're in law enforcement, there's a good chance you've got some PTSD symptoms or have had it. Law enforcement, the police. I mean, unfortunately, when there's a horrific car accident and, there's like people dying from crashes, who are the people who show up? It's the cops. The first responders, people doing the ambulance kind of work, right? Very likely post-traumatic stress. Then with police, not only are they always going to car crashes, but then they're being called for domestic violence incidences, or they're pulling people over, or they got to deal with criminals sometimes. And there's always the danger of, is this person going to try to kill me? All that kind of stuff, confronting people, having to arrest people. It's almost guaranteed you're going to have post-traumatic stress symptoms. So if you do, and you're in law enforcement, go see a therapist. Call me. You can call me if you want, but go talk to somebody, okay? And most cultures are like this, and American culture's definitely like this too. Men, we've got the macho thing going on. We can't show that we're struggling or we're weak. You know what I mean? We're afraid to show to our peers. We're afraid to let our employer know that we're struggling. Okay? Don't let that. Go see a therapist. A therapist is confidential. A therapist won't share with anyone what you're going through, you know? So, anyway, I'm serious. Don't be that person that just sucks it up and doesn't really, tries to do it on his own. Don't be that person. So, give me a call or, go find a therapist in your area. Okay? All right. I'm lecturing. And the last one, wait, what was the fourth one? My handwriting. Oh, here's another one. Okay. Here's another aspect of post-traumatic stress. This is my working theory. I think I'm correct. I haven't collaborated with other trauma experts and all that, but it's common for someone to endure, maybe they're a victim of a crime, a terrorist attack. Okay, those are traumatic. To have survivor's guilt. I've had a client, I'm not going to give any identifying information, but she was present at a mass shooting that made the news, the national news, the world news. She was present. Okay. And actually, what happened was she was there. She walked out of the building roughly 10 minutes before the shooting happened. She walked out the doors that the gunman came in. And anyway, so she was fine. But some of the people who were killed in this mass shooting, she knew. So she was totally traumatized, totally upset to this very day. But she was safe. She was safe. And all I'm going to say is it's been a good number of years, okay? At least 10, 15 years. And she struggled greatly with survivor's guilt, where it was like, I don't know that I can enjoy my life. Why me? Why did I get out, but my friends didn't? And she really struggled with this survivor's guilt. It's like you can't give yourself permission to just enjoy your life. Victims, people who actually survived 9/11, that horrific day. I was 29 years old when that happened. Okay. Anyway, that horrific day, survivor's guilt. So you think, okay, you survived the 9/11 attacks. What good fortune and luck. Unfortunately, with trauma will make it where it's like, oh yeah, well, you got survivor's guilt. And you're always going to have this post-traumatic stress where you can't really enjoy things and you're hypervigilant about loud noises or high rises, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, survivor's guilt is another way that can come up. All right. So just things to think about. But then the aspect of post-traumatic stress, there's something called complex PTSD. And then there's just, quote, regular PTSD. I'm not going to get into complex PTSD too much, but it is, I'm not going to do a good job. I'm not articulate enough, but I know enough about it that I can kind of help people, but I'm not an expert at all on it. But it is a real thing. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is trauma can make things much more complex and complicated. It's not just, oh, this bad thing happened to me and now I'm just sad. It's usually this bad thing happened to me and it's totally affected my self-worth. And I also have this dark gray cloud over my head that skews how I view the world. I have a very negative view about myself, others, or the world. There's all sorts of complications. People can carry shame. Shame can be a huge thing, especially related to rape, sexual abuse, which is traumatic. There can be the aspect of blaming themselves for what happened. That can be another aspect of the complications. So it's not just this bad thing happened to me, like this linear, I'm at A, I need to get to B. I need to get better. Usually it's like there's all these complications and complexities. I blame myself for the trauma. I have really low self-esteem about the trauma. I have a very dark cloud over my head. I have a very negative view about myself or others because of my trauma. And then of course there's like the triggers, the hypervigilance related to things that remind them of the trauma. Anyway, I'm just kind of rambling here, but lots of ways. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I actually heard, this was a few years ago, but I was in this little social group, and this woman was like, oh yeah, this person's got PTSD and they just have to live with it. They're screwed, And I was like, what? What are you talking about? People can heal. You can grow. You're not just hopelessly stuck with PTSD. There's a lot to say. PTSD is complex and it is complicated. And there is some element of like trauma can wound you in a way where it's like you'll always have that scar. You'll always be a little wounded. You know what I mean? Maybe you won't be 100%, but you can definitely heal. I've seen so many people heal and grow, and I'm working through it myself. That's a long personal story, but so anyway, post-traumatic stress. You have questions about it? Ask in the chat section or reply in the, But the most important thing, I'm just speaking from the heart. Don't suffer from this by yourself with the attitude of I got to suck it up and I need to be ashamed of this. And don't do that at all. Go find a caring, loving therapist who's full of empathy. You know what I mean? Or a friend. I don't care who it is. Okay? So there you go. All right. I'm on a roll here. It says it's been saying like flickering, one person watching, then 0. And it was at 2 people. It's a little sad, but I'm not a celebrity yet. Okay, maybe someday. Okay, but my videos aren't that good yet at all. But I'm brave enough to be bad at something new. All right, let me take a swig. Want to see that? Here's the Starbucks. Very nice Starbucks here. They close in 45 minutes, so I'll probably go for another 20 minutes or so. I got time. Caramel macchiato. It's pretty good. When it comes to coffee, now I did quit caffeine, but I love Dunkin' coffee. I love Dunkin' coffee so much. So Starbucks is okay. This is a fun, sweet drink, the caramel macchiato. A couple times a week, I'll go to the Dunkin' and get my large decaf coffee with cream, no sugar, and either I put butter pecan in there or banana flavoring. So, all right. Hold on a second. Before I get, I just want to make sure everything's rolling here. All right. I just want to make sure my live stream's going. Right? It would be sad if I was doing this live stream and talking to myself. Okay, it's worth it. All right. Moving. Topic number 3. I want to talk about what makes a good therapist, what makes a bad therapist, and because sometimes my clients are like looking for a therapist, and it's like, what should they be looking for? And I was actually talking to my friend Siggy. Siggy she is so full of wisdom. She's so therapeutic minded. She works so hard in therapy herself. I've been telling her she needs to become a therapist herself, but she doesn't listen to me. Anyway, we were making a list. And we were actually thinking, okay, like, what are all the examples of where we had a bad experience with the therapist? And so I made a list. Okay, now let me just be clear before we even go on this list. I want to say I'm not in the business of knocking other therapists. I don't believe in that at all. You know what I mean? Being like, oh, those therapists, they're no good and I'm great. And like, I don't like that vibe at all, because I definitely wouldn't appreciate if therapists are knocking me, especially if they don't know me. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't like that. And plus, like with therapists, like we do it for a living, but most therapists in their heart, they became therapists to help. And it's like, I always just want to encourage other therapists to go make a difference, go be a great therapist, because then people benefit, right? Okay, having said all that, me and Siggy, we made a list of all the experiences we have with bad therapists. Okay. One, a therapist you shouldn't feel like ashamed or judged. You're talking about your problems, you're talking about this or that, these struggles you're going through. It's kind of obvious, really, but a good therapist should make you feel comfortable, make you feel accepted. And the opposite of that is where you feel kind of judged, or almost like they're carrying shame for you. You know what I mean? If you feel judged, sometimes like a therapist, I mean, I don't want to explain it, but it's just like the dynamic between two people where if you're sharing something and there's just that little feeling of like, is this person judging me? Are they quietly just thinking, oh man, this person's kind of pathetic. What a lame problem to have, you know? So anyway, a bad therapist is going to like not be, a good therapist is going to say, hey, there is no judgment. Therapy is safe. It's okay. I'm glad you shared this with me. Okay. So, all right, that was one thing. Here's another one. All right. So, bad therapist. I once saw a therapist where in the first session, I only saw him one time. He talked more about himself than he did asking me questions about me. I totally fired him after one session. He kept talking about himself. He was going on and on talking about himself. I was like, this is pathetic. I was so upset. So anyway, look, by the way, a therapist in general, therapy is about you. You should be talking and exploring, and the focus should be on you. Okay. Once in a while, it's okay for a therapist to just share something briefly. I do this just to say, hey, I know what you're talking about. And like, I can relate to this. So just real quick, let me just tell you quick, within 15, 30 seconds, and then go right back to them. A good therapist will, like, I think in my view, is okay with just showing, hey, I can relate, I'm a person too. But ultimately, a therapist should not be talking about themselves or seemingly constantly going back, drawing the conversation back to them. That's really bad. Super bad. Okay. I fired this one therapist where I was like, will you just ask me a question about me? Show interest in me. I totally fired that guy. Anyway, I'm a little upset about that one. That was a few years ago. All right, another one. Quick fixing. A bad therapist gives quick fixes. And it's like, especially because here's the thing, isn't this true? We go to therapy because we have pretty significant burdens. Life has hit us hard with things. You know what I mean? Usually there's no easy answer. Usually the first thing we're looking for is empathy and understanding. We need to know that we're not going crazy. You know what I mean? That we're not alone. And I know I've had an experience where it felt like the therapist just gave me this quick answer. Like, oh, you should just do this. And it was like, no, you don't get this. This isn't solvable. If it is solvable, it's going to take time and a lot of luck. And you know what I mean? Anyway, if you've got a client that's like focused on quick fixes, I don't know, or a therapist. I may have misspoke there, but be careful about quick fixes, because then there's always the issue too of like, you know, as a therapist, I see clients. Let's say they're working on reducing their anxiety. There are quick fixes, but it's almost like mowing grass, and then expecting the grass to be gone. All you're doing is just trimming the grass. You know what I mean? I'm not explaining it well, but be careful about therapists that are kind of quick to just try to fix you. And it's like you really need you need a therapist that wants to go deeper with you. Okay. My friend Siggy told me I do have a list of all the negatives. So in a way, the positives are do the opposite here. Okay. My friend Siggy, she said when she went to her university counseling center, she just felt like a name and number. She felt like they didn't really care. She was really struggling with her mental health. I think, I forget exactly what she was saying, but she was struggling, you know, and she just sort of felt like, oh, they're just treating her like, oh, just another name and a number. Oh, she just struggles with this. Okay, let's give her some treatment. Let's give her some pills and get her out of here. You know what I mean? Ultimately, what she said was she just sort of felt like, do these people care about me? You want a therapist. Look, here's a good therapist will really show that they care. Okay. And hopefully they got whatever skills or training to help you achieve your goals. But at the base levels, like, does your therapist really care? You have to know that's like a gut level, because you're going to be paying your therapist, okay? Or I don't know, with insurance, you have a copay. Just know a good therapist will show that they care, okay? Get all fired up about that. Band-Aids, I already mentioned that. Oh, here's another one. Good therapist, bad therapist. A bad therapist. Now, look, this is my opinion, but a bad therapist. Are they canceling a lot? Are they canceling their therapy on you? Are they taking a lot of vacations? Is it like they're always sick and it's to the point where like, your weekly rhythm is being interrupted a lot because they're always canceling, or you know what I mean? I'm just saying that's a little bit of a factor. Okay. All right, I guess I'm tooting my horn here, but like I'm kind of a greedy, money grubbing SOB. I see all my clients by telehealth. So even if I'm sick, I make myself see my clients. I will sit up and I'll be like, listen, I'm sick. I'm sneezing a little bit. So I apologize, but like I'm so fired up to work with you, to listen, to support you. Let's go. Let's go to work. Occasionally I've been so sick. Actually, I don't get sick that often. There was one time like 2 years ago where I was like, I need to lay down on a couch. Is that okay if I'm laying down? You know what I mean? And my clients didn't care. So anyway, just another thing. Does your therapist cancel on you a lot? And oh, by the way, as a client, don't cancel on your therapist too much. Don't do that. Don't do that, right? That's a whole nother topic, right? And here's the other thing too. Right, so how do you find a good therapist? It's almost like this. Here's like the thing that I think about. And my friend Siggy talked about it in her experience. It's like sometimes you have to keep looking until you find the right fit. And you might just have to listen to your gut, your intuition about what a good therapist feels like for you. You know what I mean? And it does have to be the right fit. The therapist's personality, their approach, whatever other factors that you might have. It's okay to be picky. Okay. And like what has happened sometimes is people for the first time will muster the courage to go see a therapist. And then it's not a good therapist. They don't have a good experience. Maybe the therapist talks all about themselves. Actually, yeah. I had one friend down in Tubac that told me she had that kind of experience. She never went back. And then so what happens is we have that bad experience, and then it feels like, okay, I tried therapy and it didn't work. And in fact, it made things worse and had a negative experience. And then they give up on the whole thing. When in reality, it was just they had a bad therapist and they got to just keep trying. And you know what I mean? And by the way, if you're contacting a therapist, it's okay to kind of like, if you can, try to do a 5 or 10 minute phone consultation with them. Just try to get to know them a little bit. You know what I mean? Tell them your issues. It's okay to do that. So anyway, just don't, especially if you're brand new, don't get discouraged if your first therapist isn't any good and you have a bad experience. All right. And by the way, like, of course, you can ask a friend, that kind of thing. I know therapists in Colorado. Okay, that kind of thing. And then also, there is an advantage to some of the telehealth platforms like Sondermind and Rula and BetterHelp, because if you don't like your therapist, you usually can just click a button, like, in your profile that says switch therapist, and then you click switch therapist, and then you have a directory usually of whatever, 8 to 10 or 20 therapists, and then you can look at their pictures and read their bios. At least you can pick from, based on the bio. That's like one advantage to some of those platforms. Otherwise, like the old system, you just maybe you look up in the phone book or you Google therapist in whatever city you're in. And then, you just look at people's websites. I have my website, Wandering Elk Wellness. You can check it out. And then you call them, and then you wait. You have all the anxiety of, are they going to call me back? When are they going to call me back? All that kind of stuff. So there's some advantages to finding a therapist on one of the platforms. Okay. So many things. A good therapist will understand your goals. Sometimes my clients, I will say this, sometimes my clients, they don't even know what their goal is for therapy, or at least they can't articulate it at the beginning. They just know things are not right. They're not feeling well emotionally, their mental health, that kind of thing. Okay. And sometimes it takes time. But if you do know your goal and you articulate it, a good therapist will get it and be like, okay, I'm focused on helping you with your goal, and we'll plan accordingly with therapy. All right. So that's another thing. I think that's about it. Really hated. What was this one? I can't read my handwriting. I can't read it. I think that's it. That's it. Therapy. What did I call this? Therapy tips. All right. Therapy tips. It's just fun doing these live streams. All right. Where did I go for 38 minutes? Listen to me. I'm just going to say one final encouragement. Do not give up. Do not give up. If you're in a place in your life where you've got your struggles, and I'm almost saying this to myself too, because I got my challenges as a 54-year-old guy. Don't give up. You know what I mean? There's always hope. Sometimes, have you heard that saying? Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's that quiet voice at the end of the day that says, I will try again tomorrow. Courage. Don't give up. The number one thing, the number one skill that helps, like where my clients are most successful, is when they don't give up. They just say, you know what? I'm just going to keep talking to this guy. I like my therapist. I like talking to him. I'm just going to keep knocking on the door. Keep talking about it. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying this. My therapist says I should try this. I'm just going to be open to it. Maybe I'll read a book. Maybe I'll research it on my own. Maybe I'll, I'm going to keep at it. Do not give up. Okay? By the way, you can quit on your therapist and then find another therapist. That's not giving up. That's just saying, okay, switching horses. I've done that. I've been with my therapist for 4 years, but prior to that, I had a guy for a year, and then I let him go. It's okay. And a good therapist won't take it personally if if you let them go. Oh, that's another thing. A good therapist will be like, okay, hey, I enjoyed working with you. You're always welcome to come come back. If you have any feedback, you're welcome to give it. And a bad therapist will be all offended or upset. You know what I mean? So, all right, that's it. I'm out of here. One last swig of my caramel macchiato. All my love from the Midnight Cactus. That's my handle on YouTube. All right, Steve. That's my real name. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye. Thank you for watching too.